Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Damme, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I want to tell you where you can currently stream all of the best movies of 2018. So this is not a comprehensive list of the best movies of 2018, it's just where you can stream them. There are some that are still in theaters, some that are not even out on Blu-ray yet, so those are not going to make it onto this list. Now starting off with HBO, they actually have one of my favorite movies of the year, and that's Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs. Now, I'm ashamed to say I waited a really long time to see this movie, despite the fact that I am a Wes Anderson fan. I just wasn't that intrigued by it. I didn't love The Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's a good movie, but I didn't love it. So I slept on this one for a long time, and man, do I regret it. This one is really, really great. It's one of his best movies. I think his narrative, his storytelling style has only gotten tighter with time, and it looks beautiful. Every 5 to 10 seconds in this movie, there was something on screen that made me go, oh, like it surprised me constantly, and I was just mesmerized by this movie. Watched it, immediately bought it, despite the fact that it's still available on HBO, and cannot wait to watch it again.
Blood!
An odd one to make it on this list, but I gotta mention it, is Game Night. Now this is your typical sort of midnight comedy, but it's a little bit more. Now it doesn't mean that there's a lot of substance to this one. There's a little bit, but it's just really good. Like so many of these silly comedies are just, they might make you laugh in the theater, they might make you laugh on a rental, but they're not really gonna hold up to the test of time. And Game Night was a surprise. Like, I was surprised how good it was. Neighbors I talked to, friends I talked to, everybody was really surprised at how exceptional this movie was. So if you passed on it just thinking it was another run-of-the-mill comedy, definitely watch it. Don't have super high expectations, because that is what it is, but it's just, to me, it's like top shelf within that genre. An HBO original documentary is actually one of the best documentaries of the year, and that is Robin Williams' Come Inside My Mind. I thought this was really great. I was glued to my seat the entire time. You get to see a lot of Robin Williams' old stand-up. You get to see just kind of how natural he was at being funny. It was really well put together. I was a longtime fan of Robin Williams, and I feel like this documentary was a really good tribute for him. On another note related to comedy, Paddington 2 may not seem like a good recommendation coming from me, but I'm telling you, this is a really fantastic movie. I love watching the original with my son. The second one is just as good, maybe better. It's got kind of a Wes Anderson vibe. They're definitely borrowing from Wes Anderson in more than one way, but the performances are great. It's got a really amazing cast. It's a beautiful movie to look at, and it's funny. It's for kids, it's for family, but it manages to be funny without being crude, which is a really hard thing to pull off nowadays, I feel like. And Paddington 2, I think, is going to become a classic movie. It really, honestly, is one of the best movies of the year. With that, I'll move on to STARZ, because it's similar enough to HBO. They have nothing. Sicario, Day of the Soldado is about to come out on January 19th. This one was really great. Now, I did not think it was as good as the original Sicario. This one's a little bit more like an action movie, whereas the other one was more of a quote-unquote film. But this one is good. It is a good sequel. It's gripping. It's intense. It's well acted. It's well shot. It's a very, very good movie. I recommend it if you're into that sort of genre. Do not pass this one up. If you have access to STARZ, you can go ahead and check it out on the 19th.
It's destroying everything.
It's not destroying. It's making something new.
Now moving on to Hulu, they just added Annihilation, which is one of my favorite movies of the year. It might be in my top 5. I did a full breakdown and analysis. I think I spent 20 minutes talking about this movie on the channel. I will put a link in the description to that video. If you're into this movie, check that out. If you're confused by this movie, check that out as well. There should be a couple of answers in there, but this one was beautifully shot. It's directed by the same guy that did Ex Machina, which I loved from a couple of years ago. He also wrote Sunshine. He wrote 28 Days Later. He wrote Dread. Incredible writer, really smart writer, and an even better filmmaker, in my opinion. I think he did something very, very smart with this. Now, He did not direct it like a Stanley Kubrick movie, but this one is close to a 2001: A Space Odyssey level. It may not be a masterpiece like that, but it nudges into that territory in a way that like no other films do, and it's its own thing. There's a lot more to this movie than meets the eye at first glance. I think this one's going to be worth multiple viewings going on into the future, which is why it's one of the best ones of the year.
Welcome, Power Caller. I hope you did not masturbate today. We need you sharp and ready to go.
Sorry to Bother You is also on Hulu right now. This is a really funky, fun kind of movie that it's getting compared a lot to Spike Lee's early work, like Do the Right Thing. It's not the same type of movie, but it's got its own sort of groundbreaking vibe from a black filmmaker. So keep an eye out for this one. It's well worth watching, especially if you're just into the look of it, to the vibe of it from the clips I'm showing. You definitely need to check this one out. For those of you that subscribe to Shudder, there's some really great movies, including one of my favorites of the year, but they also have a Shudder original that a lot of people missed called Revenge. Now this one's mixed language. It's English and French. It was shot in Morocco. It's about a girl who's spending a weekend retreat with somebody she shouldn't be, with a married man, and things do not go well, and she ends up being hunted. Now, this is a horror movie. It's classified as one, but it's very sort of genre-bending as well. This is about a woman who gets assaulted. It tries to then be covered up. And then the movie really goes off the rails and turns into this crazy, psychedelic, weird thing that I loved. I like this one a lot. The cinematography is beautiful in it. It is dark. It is grim. So if you're one of my horror fans, watch this one, but do not expect it to really be a horror movie. It barely squeaks into that category, but it's so good.
So what you want? It's crazy evil.
Another sort of genre bender that is one of my favorites of the year is Mandy. Now, I know a lot of you think this is maybe one of the worst ones of the year, and I can get that. It's certainly one of the weirdest ones of the year, which is why I loved it so much, but I've seen it 3 times now. The third time I saw it, I went back to the theater for a special screening, and as soon as the opening credits started, I kind of fell in love with this movie. And so while it's not really truly one of the best filmmaking examples of the year, it is a great one, and it happens to be one of my personal favorites. Now, if you do not have access to Shudder or any of these other platforms that I've been talking about, before I move on to Amazon and Netflix, which is where I have most of my recommendations, I just opened an Amazon shop. Now, I'm not really selling you anything in this shop. I'm basically just listing out products, mainly the movies that I talk about here. So if you're watching this video way in the future and some of these movies you want to watch are no longer available on the streaming service, or maybe you're in another country, you can go to that Amazon shop. There's a link in the description, and I have the best Blu-ray prices that I could find, meaning from the seller that has these movies at the lowest price. You're going to be buying from them. I've just curated a list. So if you're going to buy these movies anyway, you can do so that way, and it'll actually help benefit the channel and help the channel grow. Amazon Prime has one of my favorite movies of the year, and it is an Amazon original. It came out in theaters. It stars Joaquin Phoenix. It's called You Were Never Really Here. Now, this is a really, really great little thriller that is beautiful to look at, super grim. I think one of Phoenix's best performances ever, maybe his honest to goodness best. It's my type of movie. There's not a lot of dialogue in it. It's all visual, mostly. It's a simple story, but it's told so well with the camera. That's what I love. If you are a fan of Flick Connection, you like my recommendations for the most part, this one is an absolute must-watch. Do not let this one slip by you for too much longer. Hereditary just got added to Amazon Prime. It is one of, if not the best horror movie of 2018. If you're a horror movie fan, odds are you've seen it already. If you could take them or leave them. The great thing about this one is it borrows from classic horror movies in so many different ways without really feeling like it's stealing from them. It sort of borrows and makes it new, and you sort of get something that feels new and classic at the same time. That's what I really liked about it. The things that I liked about it were so strong that I could easily overlook some technical flaws in the storytelling. Eighth Grade gets added on January 13th, and this is a really great movie, a coming-of-age story by Bo Burnham, who's much younger than me. He's a YouTube star. At least he got his start right here on YouTube, and became a very, very successful comedian, one of the bigger acts working today. This is his directorial debut. He wrote it, he directed it, and just really nailed what it's like to be sort of in that in-between time, the confusion, the confliction, and he worked in a lot of modern troubles that kids that age have that I didn't have to deal with, that a lot of you didn't have to deal with. So it's just a really great film about all of that, and it truly is one of the best movies of the year. UNSANE is a movie that was filmed entirely with an iPhone, directed by Steven Soderbergh, who is famous for the Ocean's trilogy, Traffic. His filmography is super epic, and it was exciting to see him do something sort of new and different. It feels kind of like a student film at the hands of like a genius. It's really great, but it is a good thriller. It feels almost like kind of a reincarnation of Hitchcock or something like that. It's about a woman who gets admitted to an insane asylum, and she doesn't think she's supposed to be there, but maybe she is. And the movie does a great job of sort of messing with you, the viewer, making you question everything. It did a really good job. And it's a fairly intense ride, and the filmmaking turned out great on an iPhone. I think we're going to see a lot more people get inspired to make films because of this one, making it a fairly important movie of 2018. A Prayer Before Dawn is on Amazon Prime. It's about a boxer in prison, and I'll go ahead and say this one is not for the faint of heart, as a lot of prison movies are. I don't need to go into detail as to what happens to men in prison. It's rough. This one's really, like my stomach's turning just thinking about it. But the filmmaking was so impressive with this one. Really incredible performances. Some incredible action with the fight sequences. Just a really great movie all around. It's a hard one to watch, making it a hard one to recommend. Sweet Country is based in Australia. It's basically a Western, stars Sam Neill. It's a really great Western, actually. I talked about it recently on my list of Western movies. You can check that out as well. There's a list in the description below. But Sweet Country, you know, we don't get a lot of Westerns anymore. We're lucky to get one every couple of years. This is the one we got right now, and it doesn't disappoint. It is good. If you've never seen a Western that takes place in the Australian outback, this is a great place to start. But honestly, an even better one, which I have mentioned recently, is The Proposition, starring Guy Pearce. That one is on Amazon Prime as well, so if you get a chance, definitely check that one out too. Before getting to Netflix, if you like this type of content and you're still watching, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon so you get notified when I put out new videos just like this one. A Netflix original is being hailed as one of the best movies of the year and is very, very likely to win an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Picture, and that's Roma. This one is directed by Alfonso Cuarón, if that name sounds familiar. He most recently directed Gravity, before that Children of Men. Really, really accomplished director, and this is another great one from him. Some amazing black and white cinematography in this one, an incredible story. Really, I can't believe Netflix got this movie, but if you've been passing on it, you've been sleeping on it, it is kind of long, it is an art film. Watch it when you're in the right mood, but this would be a great one to watch between now and the Academy Awards, if you even plan to watch them. I don't think I'll be watching them. Outlaw King was one of my favorites of 2018. It is also a Netflix original. I thought this one was theater worthy, 100%. Chris Pine's great in it. Everybody is really great in it. This is not a sequel to Braveheart, but this is historically what happened after the events of Braveheart. The two movies actually even kind of overlap a little bit historically, but I thought the production design was great. It's beautifully directed. It's a director I've had my eye on for a while. He previously directed Hell or High Water, also starring Chris Pine and Ben Foster. I like that movie a little bit better. It's also on Netflix, but it's 2 years old now, so it doesn't really fit on this list. But Outlaw King, in my opinion, it's one of the best Netflix originals they've produced. I hope they continue to do movies at this level. Some of the biggest and best movies of the year are also on Netflix. Avengers Infinity War just got added December 25th. It is good. It's one of the best. The only thing really holding this back from being like the best Marvel movie is that you really have to have seen a lot of the other movies in order to really get everything that's happening in it, meaning it's not really self-sufficient. It's not self-contained, rather, which kind of, to me, as a enthusiast, sort of holds this movie back, but it's not necessarily a negative. I think it does work well. I like this one a lot. Again, one of the best. And then Black Panther, I think it's very overrated. You know, I mean, the almost 100% on Rotten Tomatoes is ridiculous for a movie like this to get. Just trust me, it's ridiculous rating, but it is a very good movie. Like, I liked it a lot. I thought it opened well. There were times where I felt like I was just watching another Marvel movie, and then other times in the movie where I felt like I was watching something unique and different. So for those reasons, I did like this one. I thought it had energy to it that some of the other Marvel films lack. I thought that was great. And then one of the best reviewed movies of the year is The Incredibles 2. It gets added late in January 30th, but it will be on Netflix. Another great installment from Pixar. Their sequels tend to be hit and miss. This is a hit, works great. It's a great story. It looks amazing. It's fun for the whole family, but even just as adults, you can watch it. Again, it securely belongs on a list of the best movies of the year. And then my last pick on this list is another Netflix original. It's the Coen brothers' latest movie, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I do not know the story as to how the Coen brothers came to put their next film on Netflix, but as much as I love the Coen brothers, their movies, to me, are hit and miss. I did not really like Inside Llewyn Davis. Some of their other recent work is some of my favorite. You know, No Country for Old Men is one of my favorites ever. Their first, I love Fargo, The Big Lebowski. I mean, I love half of their library. I absolutely love. The other half, I could leave it. Same thing with this film. It's an anthology. Half of the stories I really, really love. They're some of my favorite moments of film this year. And the other half, I could leave them, which is great because I can watch it again and skip over the parts I didn't like. If you like that one, let me know in the comments below. But let me know what you haven't seen and what you will be watching based on my recommendation in the comments below. If you like videos like this, if you want to support the channel, you can do so a number of ways. I've got a Patreon. You can go over there, check out the tiers that I've got. I've got a t-shirt shop. If you sign up as a patron, you could get a free t-shirt depending on which tier you pick. And again, the Amazon store. There's links to all this in the description. It supports the show. It helps me grow. If you can't do any of that, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing does a great job. But I will keep putting out videos just like this one as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.